assessments and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, excellent.
So what do you think about these questions?
They're
Are they hard questions?
No. I wrote
Not
down
hard
all the stuff. No,
questions.
they're not hard.
they're not hard questions.
Just thinking through on them because of one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people have a different view of intimacy, like this question on here,
Yeah.
So how much do we let our partner see? I mean, once again, what do you want them to see? And what have you been holding back?
Yeah.
Because if you've been holding something back, then that means you got some other issues going
That,
Y'all are like two people on the pod, man.
on. No, Sam, you can.
I'm grateful to God for this.
Hey, if you say, okay, what is
Yeah.
it into me? Okay, I got that part. But
That's
if you
right.
hold something back, you got something else going on. You got
Yeah.
some trust issues
That's what
going
I said.
on.
It comes up for me. Why might you hesitate to open
Exactly.
up? What are you
What
believing
do you
about
believe? Thank you.
yourself or your
Right.
spouse?
Exactly. What's going on?
All right, hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Michael. Welcome to the podcast that we actually have no name for. How this actually came about was because we've been in a series called Build the Family. It takes effort. And we all know that it does indeed take a ton of effort. This past Sunday, we were talking about the subject of marriage.
Yes.
Right.
And then these two incredible humans joined our panel discussion. It was that of a podcast style. The great Sophie, the wonderful Sophie, is not with us today, but she's with us in spirit and in heart.
Yes.
Yay.
So we had so many questions that came in
Okay.
during that last topic,
Okay.
which was anything goes.
Right.
All right. Does that music bother you? Yeah.
No.
You okay?
Don't bother me.
All right, cool. So we had, I want to say, like almost 50 some questions come in, and so
Okay.
we couldn't get to all of them.
Wow.
From those 50, we have 7 right here that I thought were some interesting questions. I'm just gonna give them to you one at a time.
Okay.
And then let's just have like a conversation. We'll do our very best to keep this within about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yep. Sounds good.
All right, cool. So first question is regarding intimacy.
Right.
You jumped the gun a little bit, but I'm not mad at you. This person said intimacy into me see. So how much do we let our partner see? How much should you open up? What should you hold back? I have my interpretation of this question. And so my interpretation is every single thought that I have. Do I say that whenever we're talking about radical transparency? How radical are we being? That's my interpretation of the question.
Right.
How did you guys read it? What's your response?
Well, I guess I go back and think about the question itself, and it's talking about intimacy, like enter me.
Okay.
Got that
Got
part.
that.
And for me, I'm thinking, okay, if you're saying intimacy or enter me, then what is it about the enter me that you're not allowing the person to see?
Okay.
Because if you're saying enter me, that means you're open. That's just like opening the door. Okay, you're going to enter in. We're looking at everything. Now, the thing I think about is if you have that part, you're talking about intimacy. Intimacy requires what? It requires transparency,
Right.
open and honest dialogue.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and so the question goes back is if there is a lack of you wanting, or I shouldn't say wanting, or there's a hesitancy of you kind of feeling like there's something I'm holding back that maybe I don't want them to see, then there's a little bit more going on. And to me, it's going to stifle your intimacy.
Right. Right, I agree. To have intimacy, transparency, there needs to be safety.
Yes.
There needs to be trust, and those are the places where I feel safe with my spouse. I can say anything.
Yes.
If I don't feel safe, then I need to stop and check what's going on.
Bingo.
And my question that comes up is, are you, for the asker here, are
Right.
you believing something
Yes.
about your spouse and their response, or are you believing something about yourself that's getting in the way of being able to be transparent?
That's good.
Not to play devil's
That's
advocate
good.
here, but if you have like something that's not needed to be brought up, but just for the sake of being transparent about everything, is there certain things that you like, certain thought?
But why am I hiding? Why am I hiding? What am I hiding? See, this is the thing, and I talk about in relationship, and this is I was talking about when he was on the stage. I think truthfully we got dating and relationships wrong because we first start off as if we're married and we're not. Second thing that we do is we present ourselves in a way where we want this person to see all this good stuff about us. And we cover it up and we dress it up in makeup, nice clothes, cologne, diamonds. We dress all that stuff up and then when we go with the person and we're sitting across the table from them, and they ask us pointing questions, we cover it up because why? We say, I don't want them to know everything about me on the first date because if they do that, they're not going to like me. No, hold on for a minute. Stop. I want you to know that Uncle Bobo ain't wrapped too tight. I want you to know that. I want you to know that some days I'm not on my best game. Why?
Right.
Because, see, I don't want this thing to get 6 months down the road and then you say, you crazy. No, I told you from day one.
That's right.
Same thing when we start talking about this, because
Yeah.
I don't want you to think that if there's something going on inside of my head that you can't ask me and I'm not going to be honest with you.
Right.
I like that you said something about hiding, which takes us to our second question
Yes.
here.
Yes.
This question is, I thought it was a good question.
It
all right? And
is.
actually, I had to look it up.
So did I.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've dealt
I
with
had
some
to look it
clients
up.
that had this.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I
Is
was like,
micro cheating a thing? That's
Uh-huh.
the first part.
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It is.
yes.
It is.
Based on what I read, it totally is. How should it be approached if revealed? Since you've dealt with it before, can you give us some understanding as to what micro cheating is?
So the mindset behind micro cheating is that I'm going to flirt a little bit, but I'm not going to take it all the way. So I'm not, it's the base. It's actually the based in the fact that I can act in this way, but I'm not going to have sexual sin or fornicate with you. But see, that's where it gets wrong at.
Yeah.
Because once again, if I'm married, have someone I'm connected with, why would I be interested in communicating with someone else in a flirtatious way just to play games? No, we're not going to play them games.
It's a
Right.
heart thing.
It is.
It is a heart
It
thing.
is.
It's
And
a
it's a
heart thing.
pride thing as well.
Oh, okay.
Because my pride tells me I'm not doing that, but it's okay if I do this.
Oh,
So that's a
wow.
pride thing.
Yeah.
See, that's what that's what it's about. It's about
Right.
me being able to, you know how the enemy does. See, the enemy just not gonna throw you all out there. He gonna throw a little something and you gonna bite. Then it's gonna be like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? That's not too
That's
bad.
right. It's a subtle shifting of
Come
the
on now.
boundaries. Subtle shifting. And for those who might not have looked this up, micro cheating is described, at least on one site, as behaviors that hover near
Mm-hmm.
the mutually agreed upon boundaries in your relationship that comprise fidelity.
Bingo.
So however you say we're going to be truthful and honest and supportive of each other, micro boundaries kind of hover right on the edge. It's just a little taste, but it's not all the way. And so that's why people think it's all right, but it's not.
The
If
devil
you
gets
want
you
to,
to flirt a
Bingo.
little bit.
yeah, but if we look in Scripture, Jesus says, you've heard it said, don't commit adultery.
Thank you.
But hey, if you're even
Looking.
looking
Come on
at
now.
someone with lust,
Right.
you're already there. And so it is a question of the heart. Now, I think the real big thing we need to say, how do you approach it if you find out about
Bingo.
it? And I think that I welcome your comments, certainly, but we want to, if you find this behavior in your spouse or partner, I think you want to sit with it for a minute, not react.
Right.
Don't
That's key.
explode. Sit with
That's
it
key.
for a minute, and in a moment of calm, describe, I'm seeing this behavior. Here's how it's affecting me. Here's what I would like to do.
That's going to take a lot of maturity to
It's
sit with
gonna-
it for a minute.
But I mean, it might really be a minute.
Yes.
But what you
Yes.
don't want to do is look at the phone and
Thank
go
you.
exploding, because
Right.
then your
Yeah.
partner gets to
Right.
defend themselves.
Right.
But I think it's
Yes.
really crucial for partners to say, this behavior
Is
affects me
unacceptable.
this way. Yeah,
And it's
it's
unacceptable.
unacceptable,
Yes.
and this is why it's hurting me.
But it goes back to our original question. Enter me, enter see. What is it that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I get a chance to play on this side, so now that's hindered me from being intimate with you because I got these
Right.
other things that's going on.
Right,
Come on now.
right, and yeah, I mean, the minute you're turning your attention, your energy, your focus away
Yes.
from your intimate partner, you're already damaging
Yes.
that relationship.
Should there be practical things installed into the relationship to prevent micro cheating, or is that just a complete and total trust thing?
Well, I think it's important for partners to talk about how they expect their relationship to go.
That's right.
I think it is quite fair. This is not, you know, you're talking about how we date backwards in the United States. I think we don't sit down and say, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I intend to do. You know, and so, yeah, I grew up in a different church as a young adult where, you know, we were just strongly encouraged. It wasn't that I couldn't talk to a guy, but if I was in here talking to you, the door would be open.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so just things that we say, this is how we're going to do it to protect our relationship. We draw boundaries around there.
What about texting someone of the opposite sex who's like a coworker? You know how like sometimes those type of relationships can continue to grow?
Yeah.
What do you do in a practical situation like that? Let's just say that someone has an assistant or so on and so forth,
Right.
but you're a believer and you know you intend or mean well, but that's not always reciprocated.
I think with those situations, you must always be transparent and open about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because we're working together, and so I'm not hiding anything.
Okay.
Right.
Plus, also, I'm setting still boundaries. So we're working together, but guess what? You're not calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
See, that's out of balance.
Yeah, or to talk about things that don't pertain
to work.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because this is another thing too. When we talk about these situations, especially with this question, we don't oftentimes realize that in relationships, there are not only boundaries, but there are rules that sometimes we don't even address, such as if I'm expecting for this behavior we're talking about that. If I'm expecting for this behavior not to be there, then I have to address it. But I have to address it in the right way where I am not what? Where I'm not becoming dogmatic, where I'm attacking, where domestic violence we know should never happen.
Right.
Right.
Plus, the other thing, too, I have to remember, you have a will just like I have a will. If that's a desire of your heart and that's what you're doing, then I have to understand how to balance me at that time and decide, is this something that I want to stay in to continue down this road? Because if you cheat once, you're going to cheat. We just got it.
Okay.
One time is too many.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, too, in helping a person realize that this is cheating. You may not think it is,
Right.
but I do. And I have
Right.
boundaries for what I'm going to put up with and what I'm not going to put up with.
So that brings up a question. I'm going to jump around here a little bit. Question number 4 is, what is a healthy way to diffuse a triggered partner while communicating? So if you're calm, collected, you know, slow to respond, talking about a situation, and your significant other is acting a fool, you can't calm them down. What do you do in that case? If you're doing all the right steps?
For me, the first thing you must do is diffuse yourself.
Right.
You have to diffuse yourself first. And you have to understand, are there words that's being said that are inflammatory, that's going to create more harm than it is good? Plus, another thing you got to remember, is this the right time to address this? Is it the right time?
Yeah.
Because, see, if you're all like that and going through all of that, by us trying to talk about it, it is not going to create the right atmosphere for us to deal with this. Plus, the other thing about it, too, am I triggering you? Are you triggering me?
Yeah.
So I got to diffuse myself first
Right.
before I even try to deal with this, because if I don't, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to end up in a way that's going to be unfruitful and unhealthy.
Right. And I think, you know, we don't think about this, but I think there's a lot of value in recognizing, okay, we're heating up here. Let's stop this right now and
Exactly.
come back to it later.
Exactly.
You know, and that can be challenging.
Yep.
You know, but it's really important. You know, I mean, we do it with little kids. We're like, okay, you two aren't playing well. Everybody go to your corner.
Right.
And we need to do the same thing. That's not avoiding the issue. It's recognizing what Dr. Tracy just said. We are not in a place right now where we can have a productive and helpful conversation. You know, I think, too, understanding the things in ourselves that trigger us. For example, I'm the youngest of 6. I was the baby child. My family still treats me like a baby child, and it just makes me crazy. This is true.
Right.
You know, and so when I start to feel something rise, I have to just stop and take stock of me and say, okay, this is where I am. They don't mean anything. I need to let it go.
In a couple of your responses specifically, they've been about like
self-control, I would say.
Self-control, self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yes.
What do you do? Because there's some people who can go from like 0 to 100 and don't even know how they got there.
Right.
You know, like it is like a submersion that takes them over.
Yeah.
What are some things that we can incorporate so that we don't go from 0 to 100? What is that self-awareness and self-control that we can kind of...
Well, if you're someone who goes from 0 to 100, you need to step back and say, why do I go from 0 to 100? And maybe, and I'm not being funny, but
No,
maybe
you're right.
seek support, you know, even if it's not professional support, but seek support
Right.
from others about, hey, I go from 0 to 100. I need to figure out what's going on. The other thing, again, we do it with kids, count to 10. You know, if you're a person that goes from 0 to 100, maybe you need to count to 20 before you open your mouth and respond. Because what we want to do is we want to just kind of put like little brakes on that initial response and give our system a chance. Because sometimes when we're in that place of going 0 to 100, we're kind of having that fight or flight response. Something is making us feel like we're in danger, and so we're going to come at it. You know, and so just taking 10, 20 seconds, catching your breath, can actually calm your whole system down.
Yeah. Another thing I say too with something like that is track the amount of times that's happening with you.
Yeah.
Track it. Because if you notice that it's happening in many, many perimeters that you're dealing with, then you got to step back and realize that there is something that's inside me that's broken that needs to be fixed.
Right.
And I got to understand, too, another thing we sometimes do is we use words out of context, such as a person will say they're angry, but they're really not angry. They're either mad, upset, annoyed, overwhelmed, irritated, irate. See, when we talk about anger, in the Greek, the word anger is orge. That's the highest level of cognition when a person is no longer in the here and now, which we call a psychosis. They had a break from reality. Because we hear people say, I get angry and I just forget. Okay, I got that part. But most people are not angry. And if you catch a person that's going from 0 to 60, get them to identify what emotion is it really that's going on with me that's causing the behavior that I'm operating in. Because once I can figure that out, then it helps me to be able to diffuse myself. It kind of goes back to mindfulness. So now I'm being mindful of the very emotion that I'm operating in. And I'm not calling it anger, because I'm not angry. I'm irritated at what you did, but I'm calling it anger. And then the thing, too, we don't realize, that's why we have little kids that's 4 and 5 saying, I'm angry. Stop, hold on for a minute. No, you're not. No, who taught you that? Come on now. So we need to be practical about those emotions. Then another thing, too, we need to be honest with why we feel that way.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
It's not the person. It's the situation, the event that have me acting like that.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Question 5 says, what if you ask your spouse to go to counseling and they're like, no, I'd rather not. You're willing to put in the work. They don't want to join forces with you. What do you do in that situation? That's a tough question.
I would say go by yourself.
Bingo.
You go to counseling. You start
That's it.
taking care of the issues.
That's it.
Because you're the only one you can change anyway.
Yes.
Ooh.
That's it.
Yeah.
She hit it.
Yeah.
That's it. That is it.
Nothing-
'Cause
nothing more
no,
than
no,
that.
no, because you can't force them to go.
That's right.
And you need, and see, the thing about going for yourself is now you're beginning to understand how to deal with your emotional responses to this situation.
Right.
Not to the person,
Right.
to the
Right.
situation.
Right.
Question 3, now we're going back a little bit. In God's eyes, are you married if you have been together with someone for so long, but you don't have that piece of paper? And I think you know what they're referring to whenever they say that piece of paper. That
So what does the
marriage
word of God
license.
say? It says obey the what? The law of the
The
land.
authorities, right?
So we know that recognized you have to do an open oath, which means it's a legal thing to get that quote unquote piece of paper.
Yeah.
So yes, you got to do that. That's legal. Now, we know by law there's what they call common law. We
Right.
got that.
Right.
But you're asking about God.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, and I was thinking about, like, is this even addressed? There is where Jesus met the woman at the well. He was quite clear to distinguish that she had had 500
Thank you.
husbands, but the man she was with now was not her husband.
Come on now.
So he is drawing, there's a distinction that just because you're living with someone does not make them a spouse.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know this is tough. I know that we don't want to knock people being committed to each other, but there really is civil benefits to getting married.
It is.
As well as it's, I look at it like baptism. Do I need to be baptized to believe in Christ? No, but when I make a public confession of my faith,
Oh, yeah.
I actually get to invite other people to journey with me
Exactly.
and support me and
Yes.
be in community. And I
Yes.
think I kind of look at this question from that perspective.
Why is it such a common thing now for people to be together for so long and not to sign on the dotted line?
So remember, in our day and age, people have herd mentality.
Mhm.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to follow the masses and do what everyone else is doing. Just because they're doing it don't make it right.
Correct.
And so when we look at how this is going, this is how our society has kind of made things be that, and think about it, I take it back to some of the things that we go into that part where do as thou wilt. That goes back to some of the stuff with a guy named Aleister Crowley who deals a lot in the occult. So do as I wilt means I'm going to do anything I can to go against God because I can be what I want to be.
Wow.
That's what that goes back to. So now I can do this, right, and not be held accountable. Because what people don't realize too, when you marriage is a covenant. God requires us to be in a covenant with Him. That means I'm making an open declaration to say, I want you, and we're gonna do this thing the right way. We have an old saying: "Why buy the cow when I can get the milk for free?" Come on now,
That's right.
and there's no
That's
commitment
right.
there.
That's right. That's right.
So
You know.
do you think that culture is just constantly trying to make things easier for us just to simply settle in where we want to be so that way we don't have to worry about failing? Or
I think we have to define culture, because that's another thing too. We have cultures within cultures, but really, what does that mean? So if I'm using my cultural norm as a way to sin, then I'm being what? I'm being prideful.
okay, so I said that because question 7 says this.
Yes.
Culture
I see
has
it.
normalized living together. What do you say about it?
Right. But what culture?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. But if we look at, we'll just say for the purposes of discussion here, American culture has normalized living together.
Exactly.
And yes, American culture has normalized living together, and it's not God's design. It's
Right.
not God's best.
Right.
And as I was looking into this a little bit, recent research into this area shows that the odds of divorce were 1.3 times higher for women who cohabitated prior to marriage. So, we, in our culture, our American culture, and maybe the Western culture at large,
yes.
we say, oh, well, living together is a great prep, living together will let us work things out. And what happens is that people who live together before marriage generally have a really good first year of marriage because they don't have those first year adaptations.
Right.
They've already done them. After the first year, they tank because I'm not sure why, but truthfully, I think what it comes down to is you're living without a covenant agreement. You have the options, because you're not in covenant, of getting out or not having to kind of hold fast to a hard situation if it gets hard. And so when you get into covenant, you don't have those options anymore, and some people really just can't handle it because they weren't ready to be married.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing right there. I always ask people when I'm doing marriage counseling, what's your view on marriage? Who taught you about it?
Yes.
Who taught
That's
you
good.
about it?
That's
Yes.
good.
Because I want to know from the very beginning, what's your thoughts on this covenant that you're getting ready to make? Because you do know 98% of people don't get married for love. You know that. I had to do a study when I was doing trend analysis for Congress, and we were looking at a lot of different numbers, but this one kept popping up, and I probably looked at over 50 studies, evidence-based studies, and started putting together this backdrop, started looking at it. I'm like, because that's hard to believe. But then the more and more I started digging in, the more and more I found out. 98% of people don't get married for love. The number one reason people get married is circumstances, followed by situation, followed by infatuation, followed by lust, and the last one is love. And the reason,
last one is
yes,
love?
let me tell you why. Because when people get together, their view of love is skewed.
Ooh.
Because and we looked at some studies. One of the most profound one was one out of York University, and it showed for young girls from the time that they're 6 to the time that they're 12, if they were raised in an environment where every 6 months to a year the cycle of violence was taking place, and then one spouse was saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to church, God save me. You know what? It's never going to happen again." But then it happened again. So for that time, that's what her pattern was all the time. Now, when she turned 12 and started getting involved, who was the first guy that she got involved with?
Wow.
The same guy that she said she didn't want to be, because that was like. But this is the problem with that. When she did get with a guy who did not do those things that she saw in that pattern, she would do things and make him do that, because that was what she knew love to be.
Right.
So it would become inverted and twisted. So when people get together, their view of love is skewed, because once again, we can say, "I love you," but how can you say you love me if you don't love yourself?
Right. Yeah.
Quite.
Oh, I was
No,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say, and speaking of skew, we're kind of talking of a darker kind of skew, but we also have the Hallmark Hollywood fantasy skew. Of,
Exactly.
oh, we're going to get married and everything's going to be perfect and my problems are going to be gone and we're going to have money and we're going to have, and yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
And I encountered that all the time.
Right.
Where people are like, "Well, I thought when we got married," and I'm like, "Okay," And so what covenant? Covenant. We have an agreement. This is what we're going to do. And the great thing about being able to sit with a partner and talk through it is that you each get to decide what your covenant's going to
Yes,
be.
exactly.
It
That's
does not
powerful.
have to be what mama and daddy had. It doesn't have to be what,
Yeah.
our neighbors had. We get to decide, and we speak it together, and we agree
Yes.
on it,
Yes.
and then we work living it together.
It is challenging because you're bringing two different cultures together,
Yes.
regardless
Yes.
if
Yes.
they're under the same,
Yes.
larger culture, or whatever. You have your own individual family culture.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
How do you mesh that together? I'll give you an example. So my family, we used to have like family meetings where we would sit down and talk about feelings and
Right.
talk about how your week was and so on and so forth. I hated it. It was every Saturday, whatever. But Sophie's family, they didn't talk about nothing.
Uh-huh.
They just, if something was like awkward or whatever, it just was kind of like assumed that they would be able to get over it.
Right.
And so I talked about everything. She talked about nothing. And then you have these two cultures coming together,
Oh, yeah.
and we have to figure it out.
Yes.
What do you do like in that case when you have two different cultures?
That's a great question. And
I'll tell you what we did, but
Uh-huh.
like if
I'll just tell you, first of all, that's a very common dynamic.
It is. It sure is.
It's
sure
such
is.
a common dynamic because you probably, part of what you liked about her was she was quiet. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes,
And so
yes.
it's
'Cause I
very
love to talk.
interesting.
Right.
But I think, again, I'm coming back to we talk it out. We say, hey, I like to press in and talk through everything, and you're kind of quiet. What's the middle ground for
Right,
us?
exactly.
Okay, this is what my family did, this is what your family did. What do we now want to say our family's going to do?
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
going to be a little bit of picking and choosing. It's going to be a lot of trial and error.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that didn't work that well, so how do we tweak it? And I think we're building.
Right.
We're building something.
it takes effort.
It does.
takes effort. It sure
And
does.
that's the thought too that has to be as you go into it, is that, listen, we come from two different backgrounds, and that is okay.
Right.
See, that's the other part too, that
Right.
sometimes we don't tell ourselves it's okay, because, and I tell people, listen, it's a true fact. If both of us are the same, one of us is not necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't get with you because I wanted you to be like me.
Yeah.
Right.
So I understand in coming together, there are going to be nuances that I need to learn and study about you, and that's one. So when we come up against those kind of situations, we can talk it out. It doesn't mean we're going to agree, and that's okay. But at least we have open dialogue to be able to address it, so now we know which direction we want to go in. And the other thing, too, is I'm not going to make it the way my family did it. No, we develop our own style and how we gonna
Right.
do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where we're going with
Yes.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? To that, Sophie's family is far more healthier than what my family is. Despite the fact
Right.
that we came out and supposedly talked about everything,
Uh-huh.
we were actually hiding
There you go.
a ton of
Stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to bring shame to our family meetings,
Right.
which caused like some sweeping
Under the
under
rug. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where on Sophie's side, it was let them deal with their crap,
Right.
You know, and they dealt with it, but just in a different way. And so
Yes.
I was like blown away, paradigm shift. Now in our family unit,
Right.
it's not like we're going to just say, you know, all right, good luck, or turn a blind eye.
Right, right.
But I do think that there is this healthy balance of
Yes.
both.
Right.
It is.
Anyways,
It is. It is.
And I just want to say, too, I think God is quite deliberate in putting us with spouses who
Thank
are
you.
different because He wants to
Yes.
grow each of us.
Bingo. That's right.
You know, there is something about how Sophie does things that pulls good things out in you.
Oh, yeah.
And about how
Yes.
you do things that pull, and that is the design. And so that idea that someone has to agree totally
Right.
with me and be just like me, and we have to like all the exact same
Right.
things at the same time, it really is not how God
No,
operates.
that's that Hallmark movie you was
Yes,
talking
it is.
Yeah, and I tell like our team often, if we are all seeing the same thing, then we're all gonna be blinded to
Yes.
the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So having these different perspectives and vantage points is
Yes.
a very healthy
Healthy.
thing
It is.
for like the
Yes, it
overall
is.
picture.
It is very healthy.
All right, this is actually the last question. How do you overcome unfaithfulness in a marriage? How do you overcome unfaithfulness in a marriage?
First thing first is understand the unfaithfulness that's taking place. And I say it in that way, and that is don't over-respond. It's one of the key factors I talk about. Because if I recognize unfaithfulness, I have to identify what is the unfaithfulness about. Because the key thing when people, to be truthful, when they're unfaithful, the first thing they're going to do is throw it back on you. Because that's how it works. So now, for instance, I keep saying, well, you know what? You keep doing that. You keep doing, but it's not really you. It's me, but I'm throwing shade on you.
Yeah.
So first thing I got to do is identify what is the unfaithfulness about, and is what I'm seeing and what's being taken place factual? Because I don't want to make up things.
Yeah.
So I have to understand what is it all about. Then I also have to make a decision. Is this what I want to keep being in? See, that's the hard call right there. Because now I got to decide if it is, just blatant unfaithfulness, then guess what? I got to make a decision on, is this something I want to stay in? Because if I stay in it, guess what's going to happen to me?
Yeah.
I'm going to begin to settle for it, and I'm going to say that's okay. And then you can do whatever you want to do, and that's not appropriate.
No.
And it has to be addressed. You can't let that go undressed. You can't. Because what it does, it really demoralizes, it causes separation, it causes a lot of hurt, it causes isolation. There's a lot of different things that unfaithfulness causes. But the biggest thing for me when people are unfaithful is it causes a break in the spirit.
Yeah. And the permission to exit comes from biblical
Yes,
foundation.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So Jesus gave a way out based
Right.
upon.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, you know, if marriage, and marriage is a covenant, not if, marriage is
It
a
is.
covenant. If someone's breaking their part of the covenant, they have broken,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, and there is reason to exit.
Exactly.
You know, and I think you're right, the choice. I mean, there are couples who have worked through unfaithfulness.
Yes.
And it's you would talk about building a family is
Exactly.
work, rebuilding
Oh, yeah.
a family
Oh, yeah.
is work.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one of the things is not only do we have to acknowledge what is the unfaithfulness about, you know,
Right.
what's driving it, what's
Right.
causing, but we also need partners to acknowledge how painful their
Thank
behavior
you.
has been to
Exactly.
the other spouse.
Exactly.
You know, because if you want to stay together, if you want to rebuild it, you are going to have to own that hurt.
Thank you.
And you are going to have to let your spouse have room to be angry and hurt
That's right.
so that they could work through that and then forgive and move forward.
Yes. Yeah.
I worked with a couple once where unfaithfulness was an issue, and the partner that was unfaithful owned it. And we worked through that a little bit. And then for, oh gosh, a while after that, every time they came in, that
Right.
partner was like, how long is my partner going to be angry?
Exactly.
How long is it going to
Right.
take before? And I was like, it's going to take as long as it takes.
Exactly.
You broke this. It's going to take as long. And that partner had to really be intentional and transparent.
Yes.
And if I'm going to be there at 5, I'm there at 4:55.
Right.
You know, had to really kind of toe the line for a while and recreate a place of safety and trust.
Yes.
So that the spouse could say, okay, I can move forward with you and I can forgive you. And I have to say, I heard from them recently on a whole nother issue. They're doing great.
Right.
You know, but we can't allow this to be like, oh yeah, I did that, but you, or it's no big deal,
Bingo.
or you're a Christian, you need to forgive me.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you know, own it.
Exactly.
You broke something,
Right.
and it's going to take a while to rebuild it.
If you're someone who has been hurt due to unfaithfulness and you join that covenant, how do you know if you should move forward or not? Like, is there a blaring sign that indicates, nope, I shouldn't, or maybe I should move on and give this a try?
That's one of those that's an individualized thing.
Yeah.
Because that's up to that person.
Right.
Because you got to go back and really understand, what is it about this that I want to stay in? Is there hope for this? That's number
Right.
one. And then two, if I'm going to allow that to take place, what are the boundaries I need to set for myself to deal with? Because
Right.
that's not an easy thing.
Right.
Yeah.
To be able to say, okay, I know this is happening, I'm going to forgive you, but I'm still struggling in what am I forgiving? Am I forgiving the part that you cheated on me and you lied on me? Am I forgiving the part that I knew because I kept seeing you hiding your phone? So now the person who's dealing with that, they begin to blame themselves. Like, it's my fault, I should, then they begin to live in that. So is that a balance that has to come from that person, and what are they willing to live through to balance themselves as they move forward with this person?
And I think
It's hard.
too, yeah, it is hard.
Yeah.
And I think, for someone who might be looking at that kind of decision, you certainly want to bathe it in prayer. Bathe it in prayer, and you want to seek wisdom. And
Yes.
when I say seek wisdom and seek counsel, I'm not automatically saying it has to be a professional. There are, hopefully, people are kind of rubbing elbows and shoulders with married folk and
Right.
single folk who
Right.
have wisdom and experience and can pour into their lives.
Right.
And so, I agree. It's an individual decision. Sometimes it might be, oh yeah, I kind of did this thing and it was horrible, and my wife said she cared enough about me to see if I could turn it around, and I turned it around. And maybe I should say my husband gave me room to turn around. I don't want to always presume it's the husband doing
Right.
the wrong thing.
Right.
And so we want to, kind of not make hasty decisions.
Right.
Now someone says, okay, I'm living with this thing and it's absolutely horrible, but I want to fix my marriage. I'm not sure what to do. There are times when I believe separation,
It's important.
temporary
I believe that
separation,
too.
may be very
Yes.
vital to
Yes.
allow each spouse the space to kind of process and sit
Yes.
with it.
Yes.
And not be triggered by each other as
Exactly.
they're working through this. And so, there's a lot of different things to consider, and it is an individual decision.
Yes.
And I think, I think we want to give people room to be able to think
Yes.
and make that decision.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The reason why I smiled is just because I'm like astonished by the amount of wisdom that you guys have. It's incredible. Like, every single time we get together, I'm learning something, regardless of what I'm doing or not. Just to wrap this up, because
So am I.
that was.
But let me go back to say something what you
Okay.
said. One of the other things in that too is you must be careful who you're seeking counsel from.
Yes.
In those kind of
Yes.
situations.
Yes.
Because you don't want to talk to somebody who's bitter, who now is
Right.
bleeding on you. We call it
Right.
countertransference. Now we're
Yeah.
bleeding on each other.
Yeah.
So I have to be careful with that. Another thing too, and you said it, I need to be bathed in this in prayer, but I also need to probably fast to
Yes.
begin to determine how I'm really hearing from God, not from man, but from God. Because this is a heart thing, and this is not an easy thing. It's not. So I really need to understand how to balance my thoughts and not put myself in positions where I'm listening at people that have no good for my intentions,
Right.
because that's what they went through.
Right.
And that's the part too. Yeah.
That's true.
Hey, sincerely, guys, I'm so glad that you made time and space to make this happen the
Thank you.
week of. What you have inside of you, I think, is so helpful for our
Thank you.
community. Where can we find you? Like, where do you practice at? How do we get in touch with you? Or is this like goodbye forever?
No,
So
no,
long,
no. We're gonna stay in
farewell?
touch.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna stay in touch.
yeah.
So, I mean, for me, you can get in touch with me. My email address, they can reach me at tracy@baileypsychologygroup.com. So
Okay.
they can reach me there.
And we'll include that
Yeah.
in the captions.
Yeah, so they can
Right.
reach me there and
Okay.
get in touch with me and
Yeah.
email. So, yeah.
Miss
Yeah,
Miriam?
and Miss Miriam can be found by going on to Psychology Today and looking for Miriam Little, St. Petersburg.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again. Before we leave, though,
Uh-huh.
if you guys had something to say to the opposite sex,
Okay.
what would you suggest? What is a tip? Doctor, go ahead.
Okay. So when you say the opposite sex, give it to me.
For married ladies.
Okay. The first thing I would say for married ladies is for sure to be open, transparent, but also to listen to what's being said and not infer things. That's one of the first things too. And if there's something that comes up that need to be addressed, address it from the I. This is how I feel about it. This is what I think about it.
Yes.
Not to say, well, you always do that, or, this is how I feel about it, and this is how this is affecting me. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me, and address it in that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So much for, I think I would encourage married men to remember to woo their wives in small ways.
Yes.
And to actually stop. If your spouse is talking to you, please don't multitask. Just take a minute. I mean, maybe you are multitasking, but stop for a moment, catch your spouse's eye, and let her know that you're engaged with her. And men, a really helpful set of questions for you would be, how was that for you? How was that experience for you? Please tell me more.
Please tell me more.
Please tell me more.
Yes.
And if you think about it, you could say something like, so what I hear you saying is, you will have gold from your wife
Yes.
if you can give her that time and attention, even briefly. She knows you're busy. She knows you're doing something, but she really wants you right now.
Right.
So just be there.
All right,
Present.
thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
I hope
you.
to see more of
Thank you.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes. We can
This
do it
is
again.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Man, you guys are natural. Did I catch you off guard with that last question?
No.
No.
I just wanted to make sure I was hearing it right.
Yeah. I was kind of like,
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was capturing it right. Yes.